All right, I've got a live Jane's Addiction album that I'm going to use to talk about my good friend who I just lost this weekend, John Rager. That guy was quite the character. He used to work for Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros back in the day, doing their website and stuff like that, which was one of his claims to fame. He liked that people knew that about him, and he was always very proud of that fact. That's why I'm using this album to talk about John. He was a larger-than-life guy, literally, figuratively. I've known him ever since basically kindergarten. I was a classmate of his brother Jeff. We were good friends. He's still one of the phone numbers from childhood that I remember, Jeff's phone number. Anyway, John was always around, and when we got to high school, Jeff didn't go to Bishop Montgomery High School. He went to Loyola, but John went to Bishop and became friends with our whole classmates, and we were all good friends. And the first time I got drunk and the first time he got drunk, and a lot of us got drunk, was over at Chad Keller's house. I remember sophomore year, just normal teenage kid shit. And for a lot of us, it was off to the races at that point. You know, having fun, having parties, doing that whole thing. Nothing abnormal about that. But John did carry an energy about him. He nonstop just loved to rage. And we all have stories about partying with Rager. I'm sure we could have a whole lineup of people tell just crazy story after story after story after story. And that was Rager's life to a large extent. He did like to go for it. He carried a beer bong in his car. He was always good for a good time. God. I used to, when I moved to San Francisco and would come home, like we couldn't communicate by cell phone or social media back then. So like whenever there'd be kind of near a holiday, the phone would ring and there would be Rager calling to see what I was up to. And my mom always joked like, God, Rager can smell when you're home. Cause he'd always just seem to call every time, like the day before Thanksgiving, he would just randomly call to see if I was home. And, we would always go get into trouble. One time, like, being home, still being 18, 19, going home to my parents' house, I was still kind of expected to do the Sunday holy day of obligation, go to church. So I remember one time I was down at home and I was gonna go. Rager's parents were very much the same way, so they were staunch churchgoers. So I ended up going to 5 o'clock mass with the Rager family. God, that'd be 18, 19, a couple years out of high school, and Rager and I sneak off during mass to my car to go smoke a bowl. We go smoke a bowl in my car and go back into mass just in time for the prayer of the faithful. We pray for the sick, Lord, hear our prayer. We pray and the priest goes, we pray for all of those who are addicted to drugs, that may they find the way. And Rager and I just start fucking cracking up like uncontrollably in the middle of mass. Like, where Rager is turning and facing the other way in the pew with his head down. I'm trying not to look at him. Jeff is with us. He didn't go out to the car, but he knew damn well what was going on with us. He was so embarrassed, and like John's parents are there too. And so that was just one of those Rager experiences. God. When we lived in LA, Tara and I moved to LA for a couple years after leaving the Bay Area, and he would show up at our house a lot because he was living at home at the time, and he'd either be kicked out of the house or couldn't go home. And he made use of our spare bedroom quite a bit, and he was so great with Kaya was probably 2 years old at the time, and she loved Rager. In fact, this is a funny story. Rager and my brother and I, we did what's in the Hermosa Beach Ironman on 4th of July, which is you paddle a surfboard a mile, You run a mile, and then you chug a 6-pack of beer, and you got to keep it down. So we did it this year, and we thought it'd be really patriotic and fun for Kevin. Drank some red food coloring. I drank some blue food coloring. Rager ate a bunch of cottage cheese right before this, so that when inevitably you do puke in this thing, if you're not a pro, and so we would be puking red, white, and blue together, and that would just USA. So we did this, and Rager's booting projectile, and he gets his picture taken for the local newspaper, and there's right there on the front page of the local Beach Reporter is Rager booting, and he's all concerned that his mom was going to get upset seeing this on the front page. His only claim to hope was that he had cut and dyed his hair blonde right beforehand, and so we're looking at the pictures like, do you think my mom's going to recognize it? And Kaya, who is like 2 years old at the time, she picks it up, she's like, hey, Rager! And we're like, the gig's up, so that was fucking hilarious. It's like, nope, I think you're busted, buddy. Rager, at my wedding, at the end of we had a couple days long wedding with all kinds of fun had by all in Vegas, and Rager just went, like the last night he was going to decide whether or not to go out. He ordered 6 margaritas for room service. He pounded 6 martinis and margaritas, and then was going to decide how he felt. He raged that night. That was Rager. Unfortunately, some of us, he never had kids. He was married and divorced. And we're just getting to the point where our friends our age who don't slow down, we're losing, unfortunately. And Rager, as fun as he was, he could piss people off. Could be so annoying. He would, start food fights at wedding receptions and vomit in inappropriate places. So we all had our issues as well. I don't want to paint all rose, but and all these stories that I could tell about all the fuck up Rager's doing, he could be sitting right here and I could be talking those stories, and I'd hear that Rager laugh, with a big beer barrel. I love that guy, heart of gold. But definitely 800,000 tons of steel rolling down the track. Last time I saw him, he was annoying the fuck out of me. It was the last time I was in LA, and when my father passed away, and my friend Chu was having a little barbecue get together because he had some family in town and just happened to coincide at the same time. So I was, and Chu lives a short walk from where my dad lived, and so that's where I was staying, and so I was gonna definitely make it over to Chu's house for his little get together, and Rager calls me pissed off because that I hadn't called him that I was in town and that my dad had passed away. He was really upset with me, and I'm like, Rager, I figured I was going to see you. We were all going over to Chu's house. I knew I was going to see you, and he was like, oh, I don't care. You should have called me. And I'm the kind of person who just kind of lets things happen organically because I do have anxiety about things, and I don't like to reach out so much, and like I was kind of have this fear of like people don't want to hang out, or and I'm putting people off. I'm putting people up. Like anyway, I'm a work in progress. I'm being much better about reaching out to people and letting people know how I think and how I feel and stuff like that. But anyway, and even amongst my anxieties, Rager is always somebody that it doesn't matter. Like I'm never putting him out. He always wants to hang out. He always wants, and if he can't hang out, it's because he truly can't hang out. He's got something going on. And so he says, "Okay, I'm going over to Chu's." And before he came over, he did a bunch of tequila shots, and he rolled up at Chu's house just completely wasted, Ubered luckily, and was really aggressively cornering me like in the in the garage, like, dude, shotgun a beer with me, man. You got to shotgun a beer with me. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to shotgun a beer with you, man. It's like some of us are, we like to get out, but this just wasn't the vibe, man. And he was all upset with me. And I'm not shotgunning a beer with you, man. But so we all, as much as we all have fun Rager stories, we all have these stories too about where he. And unfortunately, that was the last time I saw Rager. We all were hanging out and kind of were waiting for him to go because. So I feel bad about that, but it's one of those things. I always just assume you're going to see some people again. Like I never thought this was going to last time I was going to see Rager. Since this happened, I don't know all the details. It's without question that his lifestyle led to his demise. We're not going to sugarcoat that, but the actual details I don't really know. What I do know is that Monsignor, our childhood priest, was there, which makes me happy to know that he wasn't by himself, that his family was involved at the end. That I know, and that makes me appreciate. But it just made me realize you never know, man. You always assume you're going to see people, and I always assume, next time I'm in LA, I'll see Rager. This last time was just, one of those things that happens. So anyway, cheers to my buddy Rager. This is it's coffee because it's 7 o'clock in the morning, Rager. And I'm going to work. So. And if I was here if you were here right now, I'd fucking tell you that, man. Peace, my brother. Get that bar ready for Perry Farrell, man. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Rager for now. There's so much I could say, and I'm sure others will have plenty to say as well. But R.I.P. Rager.